Aaron, thanks for joining us today. We're going to be having a good conversation today as we celebrate and kind of kick off the month of the military child. Specifically, in your case, you kind of have two hats that you wear. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. From being, from your father serving and then following his footsteps. We'll kind of go a little bit from there. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us, the branch of service your dad serves in, your branch of service, what you're doing now, and then we'll kind of kick off from there.
Okay. My dad's Army, of course. He's been in, I think it's 27 years. I'm not exactly sure on his MOS. I'm not going to lie to you. But I know something like a combat medic. Me, I'm Army National Guard. I chose that route because I wanted to go to school, and he kind of pushed me more towards that way. Cause we had a long conversation, and we planned out everything before, I signed contracts and everything. So,
okay.
I've been in about a year now. I'm coming up a year on April 24th of this year. Yeah, that'll be my year mark.
How do you like it so far?
Honestly, it's fun. I love it. I've been in a year, so of course I'm gonna say that. But I've had fun experiences. I've met some cool people. I've done some cool stuff. I've had my fun.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could say that 5 years from now.
It kind of wears off a little bit after a while. But the biggest key, obviously, your father could definitely speak to that, is knowing your why and why you're serving and what you're doing. So as you kind of start to look at different milestones, that kind of helps to get through it. So I definitely can relate to that. The National Guard is always near and dear to my heart. That's where I started as well many moons ago. So, I don't feel bad to your point, as far as your pop, as long as he's been serving and what he's done all these years. So talk to me a little bit about, from your perspective, what was life like growing up with your dad serving? And again, you have a unique situation because of the fact that you're serving, because we talk a lot about veterans, obviously, here at Veterans Network. We talk about, those have served, those have gone on, but what we don't necessarily hear a lot of is the perspective of the child, right? We know that, dad or mom is out serving and we're deploying and we're doing all these amazing things and there's a family there, but nobody talks about that too much, right? Like, what does that feel like? What is that like when, dad is deployed for a year, or dad is gone on this, or, mom is doing X, Y, Z? What does that do for the formative side, of you, and kind of how that led for you to even go into service? So before you even joined the service, tell me what life was like just as a kid, with your dad being in service, and kind of what your initial, beginning, images were of the military, because of your dad's service.
Okay. Honestly, I was completely oblivious to anything military. I know he wore the uniform. I know he would be deployed, but I never knew, what came with it. I never knew what was going on there. I didn't know he was in real danger. I didn't realize that. And now that, I just really figured out everything like that, last year, I'd say. Like when I first joined, I'm like, yeah, okay. I kind of get more of, what he was going through, being away, stuff like that. I was completely oblivious as a child.
Mm-hmm. And how did you go straight from high school to service, or did you take a little gap, or how'd that work out for you?
Just about, honestly, I went from high school to I signed my contract while I was still in high school. And then at first I was going to skip my graduation and then ship out the basic. But I was like, you know what, I'll wait a little bit. And I ended up, I shipped out in January, I believe it was.
Okay, and how old are you now?
I'm 20 now. I'm about to be 21.
Okay.
October 17th.
Okay. Yeah. So fun fact, I actually I enlisted right in my senior year of high school as well. So same thing. It was one of those things where I signed up, but I was kind of like not a delayed program, because in the Guard's a little bit different. So you can sign up and then your ship takes a little bit while. And then the summer came, graduated, I was gone, and that kind of went from there. But you said something that's interesting, right? You kind of saw service from a distance. You weren't necessarily really understanding of the details of what your dad did, but you understood he was serving, and instead that's what he did, right? He was in the Army, that's what he did, and that was pretty much kind of not a big thing in the house that you talked about per se.
Yeah.
So with that being said and done, as you became older, did your dad deploy at all? Rather, while you were, 9/11 happened, all these different things have happened. Did he have any deployments before you served, before you actually went to service? Or was he gone for periods of time while you were more grown?
No, no, I don't believe so. He was, of course, he with PCS, and just leave, where he had to go, but never overseas as I was older.
Gotcha. So you knew he was moving around, doing different things in the military. As you kind of came into your own, trying to figure out what you would do, what are some of the things, I guess, that were motivators for you to go into service, right? Now that you kind of understood it and it's like, you know what, this might be something for me. How did his service really kind of help you make your decision?
Honestly, even as a kid, like a lot of people ask me that. I'm just like, even as a kid, just seeing him in uniform, I'm like, I want to wear that uniform, that's something I want to be part of. So I honestly had my decision set. So I'm just like, at first, actually, I wanted to be a SEAL, but he would talk to me and be like, nah, like it's not a life you want to live, because, it's a little different for them. But we talked about it, of course, and, National Guard was going to be that best route for me. So
how was, going back to what you said, we always knew you wanted to wear that uniform. What did that mean to you as far as him wearing the uniform? You seen that throughout your childhood. What was that in your mind that did for you as far as knowing that? Like, when did you know I wanted to wear that uniform, and what did that mean to you?
What it meant to me, honestly, it was just a lot of pride. It's very motivating, I guess. I don't know how to put it, honestly. It's just when you put the uniform on, you feel good. To me, like even the looks that come with it, everything. It's just, it feels good. It makes you feel good to me, and I'm just proud to wear it, honestly. Because I worked hard to get there.
Oh, you earned it. You earned it. Ain't no ifs, ands, or but about that. So I guess so. One question I have for you is going back to the image, right? Because I think that's a key point here too, which is what was that feeling for you before you knew, like, I wanted to wear that, right? It was more like, I just see dad wearing this uniform. What was your impression of your dad wearing that? Was he your hero, or did he feel that like, what was that feeling for you as a kid growing up, just seeing dad doing his thing, even if you didn't understand the details of it before you figured out, like, hey, I want to do that, just as a kid looking up? Was that a role that your father filled for you in that regard?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely as a hero. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like, being young and seeing him in the uniform, like, yeah, that's my hero, And still to this day, I feel the same. My dad's been there. We have a close relationship, so I just, even as a young kid, I think definitely I saw him as a hero.
And now transitioning to you wearing the uniform, did that make the graduation and all the things that happened for you much more meaningful?
Definitely, yeah. But honestly, in the moment, I couldn't really feel the way I wanted to feel, because it was just, coming back to being with your family after, like, it was a few months where I was gone, and it was just awkward to me. Like, I didn't know, honestly, how to feel. But, like, in my head, I'm just like, yeah, this is awesome. Being able to salute my dad, and I got a coin from him. It was a great feeling.
I saw some of the images that we have from your from graduation, I believe, of kind of you rendering salute to him and him shaking your hand. And it's one of those things where I can understand, or I would assume, like you said, right? It's so much things happening, right? You're in the moment, things are happening. In retrospect, you can look at the picture and it's kind of like, man, that's awesome to see that. But in the moment, you're going through it, right? So you don't really appreciate it and think like, man, that's really iconic, right? I got one of the pictures here, which I think is pretty awesome, of, you saluting your dad, which, again, looking at it now, it's like, man, that's a powerful picture right there. But in the moment, you're just kind of going through it, right? You're just kind of doing your thing, you're graduating, you knock out the salute, you keep it pushing. But in retrospect, this is something now that's part of, history for you, right? That you can actually have that moment with your dad. Tell me what this kind of meant to you right here when you got a chance to actually, really, again, back to the uniform piece, which I think is powerful, right? I see, obviously, my son looks a lot like me, and I'll tell you that it's funny. Like, you can't deny the fact that that's your pop. Like, you guys have,
Yeah.
you look alike, right? So you can't dismiss it. But I think it's amazing just to see the exchange here, where you see the pride in his face. But what for you right here? What were some of the things, or not even at the moment, but right now, looking at this image, what goes through your head? Being able to see now you also are wearing a uniform, and he's still wearing it, so you're kind of both in that space now.
Mm-hmm. In that picture, he had a coin in his hand. He was giving me a coin of I forgot what coin it was.
Wow.
So to me that was a big deal, because it's just crazy to see that he's wearing a uniform, and then I finally got to wear it. It was a proud day for me.
Yeah. And now, you coming into, being a child and kind of seeing that, again, I think those are the moments, or those are the things that you don't see a lot. You know how it is, right? Your dad did the job he did. You're doing the job that you're doing now. And you can start to understand, to your point, right? You kind of understand now kind of what he did and what that felt like and the initial phases of it, right? Even though you've only been in for a year, the point is now you have a better understanding of, like, this is what he went through. These are the things that, he kind of, dealt with. And now being in that capacity, you understand that, many of us, in service, you don't want the attention on yourself. You don't see yourself in that light.
Yeah.
You're just doing it, right? It's just like, hey, Aaron, man, there's great things you do. Thanks for your service. You're like, man, look, there's people over there doing great things. I'm just doing my part.
Yeah.
And everybody feels the same way. Nobody wants to toot their horn. And I think that's why it's great to have this kind of conversation because, for all intents and purposes, your dad obviously did a great job in rearing you and trying to raise you and trying to, at least, be there for you in the capacity as you took that step. But I'm pretty sure he's not going to sit there and be like, I'm, this, that, the third, right? He just, he does his thing and he's not looking, for the limelight or any of the attention. But knowing what he meant to you, knowing that was something that was impactful to you as a child, I think it's powerful. I think it's part of the story that needs to be captured because we don't hear a lot from the military children. Like, some don't go to service. You did go to service, and that obviously says something where now you have a bond. But now that you have, come into service, do you find that your bond with him is stronger because you have an additional thing that you both have in common?
Oh yeah, for sure. We always joke about freaking, service stuff, and we always joke about stuff. Some, of course, he knows a little bit more than me, so I'm just like, wait, what does that with me? But we, even before, we've always had a strong bond because he's always he didn't push it on me, but he definitely showed me, the more of a military lifestyle growing up. And, as I joined, it definitely got stronger, definitely. Yeah. Because that's just something else to talk about. That's just something else to joke about. It's something to relate to, you need that.
Mm-hmm. Do you find that because he is, a senior officer, having that ability there, what does that do for you in your service? Because, some folks, they don't have that. Like, when I'm like, I don't know in your family if anybody served before your dad did, but you have a unique situation where you have access to not only a senior officer, but he's your dad as well, right? That's not something you see many of. A lot of folks go into service, they don't have that lineage in their family, so it's kind of like they're the first ones serving, they're the first ones to do something. So how does it feel for you, as the title says, right, stepping into your dad's military shoes? Do you find that puts like a weight on you, or do you find that adds like a challenge to you to step up to the plate or to create your own path, right? Even though you're both in service, like how do you face that challenge? For some, it could be crippling, like, my dad's a senior officer, I don't know if I could do that, or hey, that's great for him, but I'm going this way. So different people, adapt to it different ways. How do you kind of process the fact that, you are stepping into, his shoes to a degree, but still making your own way regardless?
Well, of course, at first it was hard. Like, I'm just like, crap. I had to go above him, I had to at least, I have to be great. But, as I got older, I'm like, I want to do it my way, and nothing's wrong with that, Of course, he wanted me to be an officer, of course, but I'm just like, I don't know if that's for me, But, I've had my uncles, my great-grandfather, my stepmom, they've all served. So it's definitely it's no pressure, He's definitely always told me just to do what I want to do, basically. So, but of course, I want to go over what he's done. You know, I want to exceed him.
Yeah.
Just to, you know, it's competitive, but at the same time, it's love, and there's no pressure for me, honestly.